Rise. Please be seated. Wait, no, Mr. Hunter. Okay. Okay, for the record, both assistant state attorneys are present. Mr. Rodgers is present, and all four defense counsel. Any issues with the photos? Okay. And other than the final issue, we need to resolve anything else?
Well, you can go first and I'll do this.
Judge, we have the redacted messages from Mr. Wright's phone. The defense requested specific messages redacted, and we have that. We've labeled it as 96B redacted, and we'd like to offer that into evidence at this time.
Any objection?
Judge, I'm going to renew my prior objections. I don't object to the redaction. It appears to appropriately reflect what the court ordered.
Noted for the record, and we'll show it admitted.
And then we also printed selected pages from the Ohio National Insurance Policy. I don't think the pages themselves needed to be redacted, but we pulled out pages that weren't emails and weren't news articles. Defense has the folder. We're going to offer that in as a supplement to that exhibit.
And Judge, I'm going to renew the objections as to the proper business record certification. I'm also going to argue relevance and probative value and prejudicial nature. This is documents from 2009, very remote to the time. Doesn't even show that there was currently, there are some current documents, but that's my argument.
Noted for the record, overruled. And are we labeling that as a B with that number, or what are we doing?
Name that as a B, and the B will go to...
B is the only thing that's going to the jury.
Right.
That eliminates a lot of the arguments I've had.
We also have an issue with some of the other things that have been admitted. A lot of the things that you've admitted, you have the sticker on the actual media device and not on the documents that would be sent back, unless you want me to send the media device back to the jurors. We either need a second label with that number on it so it can be sent back, or we need a copy with a B designation on several of the things you've admitted, right?
We have more labels. I think we initially labeled the disc, and then we put the relevant papers inside of the folder with the disc. We can put another label on the paper.
Because they're not attached as well. And one, I don't send media back, and even if I did make an exception because of that, they're not attached, and we all know what happens when we send stuff back to the jury room. We're going to get it all like a deck that's been shuffled, and I would rather avoid that, at least for my clerk.
Yes.
Okay.
We will, at a break, sit there and do those second labels.
All right.
That's
I don't have an objection to that.
Ohio National is Exhibit 63.
So that would be 63 Bravo.
Okay, we'll show that admitted with the objections renewed. Anything else?
Two other things. Ms. Parker would like a moment to speak with her client.
Well, that's the last thing I was going to address.
Okay, so then the
That's
other-
what I meant by the unresolved issue.
Oh, very well. Your Honor, there are two business records that the state would like to in front of the jury. I just figured since we're here, it might be the time to say it. One is the Delta records. These should be without objection because we had the Delta people here. These are business records done under a notice of intent to rely. We also had the Delta gentleman here, and they indicated there would be no objection. But I want to move that in front of the jury.
That's correct.
Okay.
And the second is the Bank of America as to the $600 check.
Just renewing the previous objection as to the improper business record certification.
Noted for the record, overruled, and I'll allow you to admit it in front of the jury.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Other than that, there's been no objections to the photos that you're planning on introducing. Anything else we need to discuss? Okay, why don't we have Ms. Parker come on up and everybody else. Attorneys are present, all four defense counsel and Mr. Rodgers as well. Have you had an opportunity to review the video?
Yes, Your Honor, we agree that that's video from the proffer. I think that's the only agreement we have at this time.
Well, I mean, it may or may not be used. He just wanted you to be aware of what the clip was so that, I guess if we have to approach on it, you guys, I won't know, but you both will be ready to talk about it, I guess. State's ready?
State's ready, Your Honor.
Defense is ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, would you like Mr. Wright on the stand initially, or would you like him to have him brought back out again in front of the jury? Either side, does it matter?
Judge, I think when we broke yesterday, he was on the stand, and so I would ask that he be on the stand when the jury comes back out.
Okay, you can bring him out. I'll remind him he's still under oath from yesterday after the jury comes out. I'm assuming we got everybody right. Okay, awesome. It's the most important question I forgot to ask. You can undo one of his things again. Yeah.
Push forward a little bit.
You can bring the jurors out.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Michelle?
Please be seated. I'll ask our jurors again, did you follow my instructions, not talk about the case among yourselves with anybody else or look up any of the people or places involved? Even if you did so inadvertently, now would be the time to raise your hand and let me know. For the record, no jurors lifted their hand. I'll remind you, you're still under oath from yesterday, Mr. Wright.
Yes.
Defense?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Wright, is it fair to say you have a lot at stake here today?
Just my plea deal.
So, in fact, the rest of your life could be at stake based upon that plea deal, correct?
Yes.
And you're charged with second-degree murder, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
While your co-defendants that you mentioned are both facing the death penalty, correct?
Yes.
Yet, according to your testimony yesterday, they have no more culpability than you do. Is that correct?
Objection calls for a legal conclusion.
Sustained.
I'll rephrase the question. According to your testimony to yesterday, you were all in this together. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But the only difference is with this plea deal, you get a big benefit. Would you agree with that?
The difference is that I'm telling the truth.
Okay. So, do you recall when you entered into this plea agreement with the state and the law enforcement officers?
I know that the second proffer, which is where we signed the deal, if that's what we're talking about, was February 19th, I believe.
And to your knowledge, was this timing of this agreement important?
No, it's just when I chose to talk to him.
Now, Mark Sievers had not been arrested at that time, had he?
No, I think it was still an ongoing investigation.
But you had already been arrested several months prior to that, is that right?
Yes.
And in fact, you had made numerous claims of innocence to law enforcement. Isn't that true?
Yes, when it first started.
And would you agree that when this first started, the detectives, in fact, did a lot of the talking to you.
Yes.
And you met with them on July 12th of 2015, is that right?
Yes, that's when the search warrant was served.
And in fact, you gave them 2 statements at that time, is that right?
It was one statement with a bathroom break.
And then again on August 27th, 2015, you met with them
Yes, that's when I was arrested.
and gave yet another statement.
Yes.
I was going to say 2 statements, but that was another bathroom break.
Yes.
Okay. And then you met initially with the state attorneys on January 6th, 2016. Is that correct?
I know it was January. I'm not sure the date.
And that was your, what we would call your first proffer.
Yes.
That didn't go so well, did it?
It worked out well.
Eventually.
At the end, yes.
You gave a completely different story from the second one. Isn't that true?
No.
You changed quite a few of what you considered facts. Would you agree with that?
Everything in that proffer didn't change except for my own physical involvement at the house.
So up until that time, you denied that you were even in the house. Is that right?
Yes.
And as you started giving this proffer, it was recommended you meet with your attorney. You recall that?
I met with my attorney. I don't know who voiced
And then
that.
you came back in February, and that's when you entered the plea and gave another proffer. Is that right?
Yes, but I met with my attorney during that first proffer. It wasn't just after.
And that's when you said, hey, wait a minute. Not quite there. You wanted to think about things.
No, we continued the proffer, and I corrected what I said that wasn't true in the
So-
same statement.
Is it safe to say that after listening to detectives, denying the claims, and eventually by February 19th, you had also read the discovery material and evidence in your case?
The only thing that I had seen was the arrest statement, or I'm not sure exactly what that's called, the police report, and my own statements.
Well, this plea agreement comes with some requirements, doesn't it?
Yes,
And you signed a document acknowledging those considerations, correct?
yes,
And in fact, Mr. Hunter read that entire document to you while you were acknowledging it, right?
yes,
And some of the requirements is that you must testify truthfully, correct?
truthfully, yes,
You must fully cooperate in giving testimony.
yes,
You must fully cooperate in locating additional evidence. Is that right?
yeah, I think that was in there.
Okay. And also that you have read and understand the discovery in the matter.
I'm not sure how to answer that. I never saw the discovery, so I couldn't have agreed to.
Now, you testified yesterday that you were aware of substantial assistance. Is that correct?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Well, what is your understanding of substantial assistance?
I guess it would depend on the situation. That's why I'm asking you to clarify it.
Well, you were asked the question by Mr. Hunter if you were giving substantial assistance. Did you understand the meaning of that term?
Yes.
That you expected to receive a benefit?
I agreed to a sentence that was within the guidelines for
Of second-degree murder.
That's what I was charged with.
And if you don't fulfill this agreement, in fact, within the guidelines, as you say, it goes up to life in prison.
It doesn't state that, but I agree that that probably would happen.
That you're aware of that. Okay. And you received, or you expect to receive, a sentence of 25 years.
Yes.
And that's with no minimum mandatory. Is that correct?
Objection calls for a legal conclusion on the part of the witness.
I'll rephrase the question.
Okay.
Do you know what a minimum mandatory sentence is?
I think it's self-explanatory.
Well, what does it mean to you?
There would be a number that would be the minimum amount that you have to do.
And if you don't have that minimum mandatory, what happens in your understanding?
Objection. May we approach?
Yes, sir.
With regard to the first proffer that you gave in January of 2016, you recall that, correct?
Yes.
At that time, you told the state and law enforcement that you weren't there when she was being killed. Is that correct?
In one part of that statement, yes.
Okay. That you had been in the house earlier that day, but not later when this took place, when her killing took place.
Yes.
In fact, you said that you were a lookout because someone's got to be watching. Is that correct?
Yes.
But you told us differently yesterday.
I told it differently in the end of that statement. I corrected that.
After there was a break, correct?
Yes.
And you corrected it saying that you were there, but you also hit her first, Dr. Sievers.
Yes.
But that still wasn't necessarily what they wanted to hear. And you came back on February 19th. Is that correct?
That was the truth.
In fact, you were told you're not helping yourself. And you're definitely not helping us by the detectives. Isn't that true? You recall that?
Not those words, no.
Okay. Would you like to refresh your recollection?
I don't know that it matters, but yes, if you'd want to read it, that's.
Well, I'm asking if you want to refresh what you said.
I know what the result of that meeting was, so I don't really care what the words were.
Well, I do. Would you like to refer, or would you like me to read that?
Whatever you would like.
And I will refer to discovery page 43,307 to 43,308, where you were told by the detectives, you're not helping yourself, and you're definitely not helping us. We know what happened, but now we need details. Do you recall them saying that to you?
Something, yeah. I don't recall those words, but
If it's in fact on video, and tape recorded, and typewritten up, would you believe it?
I didn't say I didn't believe it. I said I didn't recall it.
It sounds like an accurate statement. Do you agree with that?
What I just said or what you
What I
read?
said.
Yes.
Now, do you recall that there was additional conditions with your plea agreement that we haven't talked about here yet?
No, I don't remember.
Is it your understanding that you must submit to a polygraph if asked to do so?
Yes.
You know
I
what
actually
polygraph
offered that.
is?
Yes.
Okay. And you were never asked to do so, were you?
No, I offered to do it.
They never asked you, did they?
No.
Yesterday, you testified to your prior criminal record, and you were asked how many convictions you had. And first words were, "I'm not sure," and then you went on to list a couple. Is that right?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor, counsel is mischaracterizing the witness answer.
What did you say?
Overruled.
Did you understand my question?
I said I'm not sure. I don't know the exact word I used, but
And at that time, you indicated that you had 3 drug possession crimes.
yes.
And you said one that was part of the same thing. Do you recall that?
Yes, it was part of the other charge.
Okay. Of the drug possession.
Well, the drug possession charge was also part of, it was 2 charges for the same.
Same case?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall what that other charge was?
I'm not sure exactly what, I know the charge, what they call the charge is a little different down here, but it was I think the actual wording that they used was unlawful use of a weapon.
And that was in St. Louis County, Missouri?
Yes.
And originally this had been unlawful use of a gun, correct?
No. There was no use to it. That's why I don't really understand how the law works with that. It was locked in the trunk of a car that I was driving. It was a legally registered gun, registered to the owner of the vehicle.
And that owner of the vehicle wasn't you.
No, which is why I got a charge.
And you entered a plea to that charge, to unlawful use of a weapon. Correct? Do you recall that?
No, I don't remember.
Would it help if if you looked at the paperwork no? Do you agree that you entered a plea to that?
Yes.
You didn't go to trial, correct?
No, this is my first time I've been in a trial.
Despite your 5 convictions, is that right?
I don't know what the other one is, but I'm sure that you do. You're looking at it.
No, I'm just asking.
Yes.
You haven't been to trial on any of your convictions.
No.
You entered pleas mostly to reduce charges, isn't that true?
And to take responsibility.
Take responsibility by providing substantial assistance in the other cases.
Objection.
Sustained.
With regard to your multiple meetings that I asked you about with law enforcement, beginning in July of 2015 and concluding in February of 16. In the first several of those statements, you never mentioned Jimmy Ray Rodgers. Would you agree?
Which statements?
Specifically.
I'm sorry, which statements?
The first statement you gave, the first 1/2, on July 12th, 2015.
Okay, that was, okay, prior to being arrested, yes.
Okay. And again on August 27, 2015. You didn't bring up the name of Jimmy Ray Rodgers.
No, I was protecting us.
But in fact, law enforcement did bring his name up.
Yes,
And in fact, they kind of laid out a scenario of what happened. Do you recall that? What
Yeah.
they thought happened.
yes,
In that first statement on July 12th, in fact, you told law enforcement officers that you stayed home in Missouri that
Yes.
weekend.
yes,
The weekend where Dr. Sievers was murdered.
yes,
Correct? Okay. That you stayed home on Saturday, that you were in bed all weekend, correct?
yes,
On Sunday and on Monday also?
yep, yes, it's all part of the story.
In fact, you told them that you were down for the weekend pretty much. That you were in pain with your shoulders and hips, is that right?
Yes,
When you were specifically asked, why were you down in Bonita Springs? Your response was, I wasn't. You recall that?
yes,
But they continued on with this scenario, and in fact, laying blame on Jimmy Ray Rodgers, correct? Law enforcement. Do you recall that?
No.
Do you recall them telling you that they think maybe Mark and Teresa Sievers had some problems,
yes,
and that she was probably going to leave him?
again, I'm not sure what the contents of that,
Okay.
of what they said. Everything I said during that statement was to protect us.
Okay. Well, in fact, when they said to you that Mark Sievers just wants the money, wants some life insurance money, your response was, Teresa's worth more alive than dead. Is that correct?
I believe that's true.
You believe that's true, that, in fact, prior to your wedding, you had no knowledge of Mark and Teresa Sievers' plans for staying married or not being married or anything else. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. and you had no intimate knowledge of their financial stability or instability.
No, I mean, over the past, I don't know the time range, but, he had talked to me about, money being tight and things like that, having to borrow money. But no, not specifically.
When you testified yesterday, you indicated that you didn't talk to him all the time and you didn't know a lot of the information.
That's true.
Time. And in fact, when produced with a video from Walmart showing you, you told law enforcement that that's not me on the video. That's not me. I was in Missouri. Is that correct?
Yes.
And further, that when you were directly asked, did you directly have any planning to do with killing Teresa Sievers? Your response was, no, I didn't.
Correct.
And that I saw him at the wedding. There was nothing said like that.
Yes.
That he never even mentioned that they were having problems.
This time, we're going to object. This is improper. This is way far afield of any proper impeachment.
Sustained.
Do you recall making a statement to law enforcement back on July 12th, 2015, when you were asked about being involved with the planning of Dr. Teresa's murder?
July. Yeah. I was trying to figure out what the dates were.
Okay.
As I said yesterday, I have problems with dates and time frames.
Okay. And that would be back on July 12th, you recall saying? And do you recall that your answer was no?
Objection, again, improper.
Sustained.
I'm going to ask you to take a look. Discovery page 5047. May I approach the witness?
Objection for what purpose?
I'm allowed to bring in his statements. He just indicated he doesn't remember. He talked about his memory problems yesterday.
I didn't hear him say anything. I didn't even hear him. I was sure he was asked a question, but I didn't hear him say anything about lack of memory.
It's going to both sides approach.
Mr. Wright,
Yes.
are you saying that you don't remember the statements being made that we're discussing?
Objection. What statements?
I was getting ready to ask you the same thing.
Would it help clear this up for you if you saw the statements?
Yes.
Objection.
May I approach?
What statements?
Which page and what statement are we referring to?
We are referring to discovery page 5047, as I previously stated.
And the statement is?
The statement is that Mark Sievers never mentioned that they were having problems. I have,
Will that refresh your recollection as to that particular statement and what you said that day, sir, if you review this document potentially? Would that refresh your memory if you have an opportunity to review it?
It would refresh that statement, but
We'll let counsel approach. You can take your time, look at it as long as you'd like, and when you're ready, just let us know.
okay.
do you now recall making that statement?
Yes.
You had indicated yesterday that you were paid to do computer work for Dr. Sievers' medical practice. Is that correct?
Yeah, to help them with their support. Yes.
Pardon me?
Yes, to help with their support.
Their technology support, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what sort of training have you had in computers, computer technical devices, and being a technical support for a medical practice, or for anybody?
All kinds of training. I mean, the technology changes every few years, so it's constantly.
So it's important for you to keep up with that?
Yes.
And have you been able to keep up with that up through 2015?
Not as well as I would have liked to.
And did you do work for other people in addition to the Sievers? Computer work, excuse me.
I understood what you were saying. It's the term work that I'm not sure. I've helped a lot of people, yes.
Well, how do you make your living?
I'm disabled.
Do you get paid for some of the computer work that you do?
People buy me lunch, things like that, for helping them. But
Like Mr. Lubinsky, frequently he'll give you things, right?
yes,
So, but you're still pretty technologically savvy, more than the average person.
yes.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay. In fact, you've been doing computer work for quite a long time.
Most of my life.
You indicated that while you don't have a college degree, because you stated it didn't exist at the time.
Yeah, they weren't degrees. They were
Okay. And about what year was that? When did you graduate high school?
1986.
So, but you did hold several certificates and whatnot for computers beginning in 1980, in the mid-1980s, is that correct?
I'm not sure that they were certificates. I mean,
Okay.
I took classes, programming classes, and
And then you would continue on with getting updated on it and get trainings over the years.
yes,
Is that right?
yes. A lot of what I know and have been able to keep up with also comes from experience. I mean, I work in the field, so when things get upgraded, you naturally learn.
Now, in some of this work that you did for the Sievers, you could do that remotely from Missouri, correct?
Everything that didn't require physically changing something on the computer.
Okay. And how does that work remotely?
I'm not sure what you're asking me. I meant technically, how does it work, or just in general?
In basic terms, what kind of work can you do remotely versus otherwise?
The type of work that I would be able to do remotely would be if they were having problems with, configuration stuff with the computers, some networking things, any of the server maintenance, backups, just general troubleshooting.
Okay. And you did this routinely for the medical practice, correct?
Yes,
You indicated that you were paid $100 a month by the Sievers to do that. Is that right?
yeah,
Did you get a check every single month?
no,
They would kind of wait and then pay you about every 6 months. Is that right?
sometimes,
Sometimes more or less.
sometimes less, or, yeah, anyway.
So part of your technical support did require you to come down to Bonita Springs and do your job.
Yes,
In fact, going to the medical practice itself on occasion.
yes.
About how many times a year were you required to come down for something?
It was only a couple of times over a few year period. I mean, very little of what I needed to do couldn't be done remotely.
But being friends with the Sievers, you also came down to visit on other occasions. Is that true?
Yes,
And you in fact stayed in the house on Jarvis Road before with the Sievers.
yes,
And you have spent some time over the years with their children. Is that right?
yes,
In fact, you have a daughter roughly the same age.
yes. Same age as Josie.
Pardon me?
Yes, the same age as Josie, the older one.
And how old is that?
She's 15 now.
So now you had some trouble with driving long distances or driving at night, isn't that right?
Yes. Yeah, I have trouble falling asleep.
That you fall asleep, not having trouble falling asleep, correct?
Yes,
And in fact, you've fallen asleep driving several times.
yes,
And on one or more of those occasions, you've had terrible accidents. Is that right?
yes,
In fact, you've sustained some traumatic brain injury as a result. Is that right?
not from falling asleep, but yes, from a
From an
car
accident?
accident, yes.
And you've mentioned several times some memory problems. Is that also from driving accidents or?
I have some short-term memory problems that go along with that. I also have a Lyme's disease, which that's also a symptom.
Of a traumatic brain injury?
Lyme disease also has some memory,
Okay. So Lyme disease, brain injury, did some of your maladies also include a chemical imbalance or bipolar disorder?
Yes.
So I'd like to talk about, well, according to your testimony yesterday, you made 2 trips to Florida in a short time period. Is that correct?
Yes.
Back in 2015.
Yes.
One the weekend of June 28th, 2015,
Yes.
and then one for the funeral of Dr. Sievers. Is that right?
Yes.
And you indicated that your new wife, Angie, wanted to come along for the funeral because she had a relationship with the family.
Yes.
So you came down both those times, and both of those times you came in a rental car. Was that your testimony?
Yes. My car was in the shop from an accident.
And when you rented the car to come down the weekend of June 28th, was that rented in your own name?
Yes.
And then, would it be correct to say you traded that car in, or your rental was over, and you went to another company?
Yes. It was a 1-week rental. It was due back, and the price was going to go up.
Okay. So then you rented a different car for the funeral?
Yes. My car still wasn't ready.
Okay, but both times in your own name?
Yes.
With regard to, both of those times, someone rode with you or shared the driving with you. Is that right?
Well, yeah, that wasn't the only purpose for going, but yes, they did help. I mean,
Okay. And that first trip on June 28th, it was Mr. Rodgers
yes.
who he did at least half of the driving. Is that true?
Probably.
Substantial amount?
Yes.
Your wife, would you agree your wife gets a little nervous of you driving long distances or in the dark?
Yes.
And are you aware of whether she had asked Mr. Rodgers to help you drive down that weekend?
No.
So with regard to your wedding weekend, that was in May of 2015, correct?
Yes.
And you testified about a variety of statements or complaints or problems that Mr. Sievers was expressing to you.
Yes.
Now, this is a day you're marrying what you call the love of your life. Is that right?
Yes.
She's your bride. It's her day. You agree with that?
Yes.
Your number one job that day, that weekend, is to pay attention to her and make her happy.
Yes.
And yet, for a substantial amount of this time period when Mr. Sievers was in Missouri for your wedding, he was talking to you about all these problems. Is that correct?
Our conversation when we were all together lasted 15, 20 minutes. So I wouldn't consider that substantial.
So when the pre-wedding celebration, you indicated that you and he went into your bedroom.
That was the conversation I was just talking about.
Okay, 15 to 20 minutes?
Yes.
Not a couple hours?
No.
Okay. And you had a variety of people there in your home, the trailer, that were involved in the festivities,
Yes.
including Mr. Rodgers
Yes.
and his girlfriend Taylor.
Yes.
And about how many people total were involved that night?
Well, not counting whatever kids were there, probably 10.
10 plus children?
Yes,
About how many children were there?
I'm not sure. A
Variety
handful.
of children. So Mr. Sievers is talking to you about his marital problems and wanting to have his wife murdered. Is that your testimony?
About the marital problems, yes.
Okay.
The conversation that we had the night before that we're talking about right now, there was no mention of that.
And he's your best man.
Yeah, it wasn't a formal wedding, so I didn't have groomsmen and best men, but I had 2 people at my wedding, and they were both, I consider, my best men. So.
We've seen some pictures, less than formal, but in a park-like setting.
Yes,
Still, you're pretty excited about it.
yes,
Do you agree?
yes.
And in this 15-minute conversation, you don't say, hey, buddy. It's sort of a man-to-man conversation with him, like, geez, not today, not this weekend. We'll talk. Nothing like that.
I take my relationship with my friends seriously. If they need to talk to me, I'm there for them.
Okay. But he continued on into the next day, correct?
Yeah, that conversation ended. Well, it didn't end. It got interrupted, so it stopped because people were looking for us.
But over the course of this weekend, he's asking you to murder his wife.
Yes,
And did he bring it up while you're getting dressed for the wedding?
yes,
And then you testified yesterday that he brought it up again while you're going to get some forgotten hot dogs.
yes. While we were in the car alone, yes.
Okay. And that's about how far of a drive is that to TK's from the wedding pavilion area?
It's about 20 minutes each way.
So, what time did you get to from your home to where the wedding was being held that day?
I'm not sure what time it was.
So you had this park and pavilion reserved for a specific amount of time, right?
For the day,
For the entire day?
yes.
Well, when you got there, you had a little problem getting, there were some soccer moms or something.
Yes.
So, but you had reserved it, so you wanted it. So, is that
Had our name on it, yes.
okay? And, sorry, stop the case. So, it's a little hectic that morning, would you agree?
Yes. I mean,
You have people that are helping, can we assume the bride is getting ready and
Yeah.
she's not out there decorating and
no,
whatnot?
none of those, they weren't there. No, she wasn't even at the park yet.
Okay. She came later, and your job was to get things set up.
Yeah, her friends were doing all the decorating and setting up the pavilion.
Okay.
My
You
friends
were
helped.
picking up the food first from
yeah.
TK's before you arrived at the park,
Yes.
and then you went back to the park
Oh, no.
after going to TK's.
Yes.
And then you went again to TK's when you realized that the hot dogs were missing, some of the hot dogs. Is that right?
No, I didn't leave from the park to go pick the meat up. I
Where'd you
left
leave
from
it?
my home. I stopped it.
Initially, is that right?
Yes. I stopped there on the way to the park and
Right.
picked up the cases of meat. Once we realized we missed one, I went there and back. So,
With Mr. Sievers.
yes.
And this is when he first brings up killing his wife?
Well, specifically, that's when he said that he wanted to have her killed, yes.
And you said to him, what are you talking about?
I offered other suggestions. I mean, we had already talked about some of the options. He came straight out and said that the only option that he had was for her to die. And he asked me, he said that he needed to have her killed.
Okay. And and he asked you if you knew if you would help, or if you knew anybody that would. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you said no.
Yes,
I don't know anyone to help.
Yeah, I did say no originally, yes.
You didn't say, hey, I got your guy.
No.
But you also didn't commit to helping.
No.
But you didn't say no at that time, did you?
I told him I would see what I could do.
Did this concern you for your best friend? That he felt he would need to go to such drastic lengths?
Not sure how to answer that. Yes, well, there's a little gray in there. Yes, I guess it concerned me, but it surprised me, I guess. But I also have known Mark most of my life, so
So, did you think that you should report this to someone at some point?
I struggled for a couple of weeks after he asked me before I committed.
You struggled with whether to call the police or a psychiatrist or even his wife?
I struggled with whether or not that I was going to be involved and help him.
Okay. You somehow became involved in helping, is that right?
Yes, I told him that I would help him.
How, well, so now this was the start. This was now I'm committed to this at some point.
I'm sorry, what's this? What this?
To murdering Dr. Sievers.
I know, but what is this that you're referring to? You said this is the start.
The point, I said. This is the point between the wedding and prior to June 28th. At some point you decide you're going to commit.
Yes.
And that's after a conversation with Mr. Rodgers.
Yes.
Do you know how old Mr. Rodgers was back in 2015?
I could probably figure it out. He turned 21 during the time that when I first met him, so
Okay.
I would put him
So
probably
that was
24.
so he was 23, 24 at that time?
Yeah, yeah.
And your testimony is that you didn't have an arrangement on how you or anyone helping you would be paid because you know Mark.
Well,
Is that correct?
I mean, the guarantee of being paid was there. The specifics of how that would play out, no.
Okay. And that at some point you have a conversation with Mr. Rodgers as to how he would be paid.
Yes, over that period of time, yes.
And in fact, didn't you tell law enforcement that there was talk about being paid by stealing some coins, maybe antique coins?
Some things from the house, yes. The coins were in that
Including
mix.
coins?
Yes.
Including antiques?
I'm not sure that Mark has antiques, but
Okay. Like you're not even sure how much life insurance there is, if any.
he never told me. He said a lot, is all he said.
But it was your intent to help Mark murder his wife in order to protect his children. Is that what you were testifying to yesterday?
Yeah, that was the main point that he was bringing this to me as, yes.
Now, you've been in this house, as you've said, And are there valuables in the house?
I don't generally pay much attention to things like that, but I mean,
Did you notice weapons in the house? Let me rephrase that a little bit. Did you notice that there was a set of samurai swords in the house?
yes,
Were you aware that he had a gun? Mr. Sievers had a gun collection.
yes, I had in the past. I mean, this has been an ongoing thing. He used to be a federal firearms dealer, so so I knew he had a safe with guns in them.
Did but there was an option to wait for the insurance money. Is that correct?
That was how it was brought to me. It would have to wait for 3. He said about 3 months is what he expected.
So now, prior to going to Florida with Mr. Rodgers, you had known, would you agree that you had known for several months that you were going to Bonita Springs, Florida to do computer work for the Sievers that very weekend?
No,
No?
no.
In fact, you had made plans and told people you were going to Florida that weekend to do this work. Is that right?
Yes,
You testified yesterday that you were going that particular weekend
yes,
until much later when Mr. Sievers said, no, we're going away.
yeah. Up until Mark told me that that was the weekend they were leaving, I was planning on coming, but not for this long period of time like you're making it out to be.
Okay, so do you recall who you told you were going to Florida that weekend?
I couldn't give you an accurate list. No.
Okay, you told Angela's, your wife's family, that you were going to Florida, or members of her family, that you were going to Florida that weekend to do work. Is that right?
Yes, ahead of time. Yes.
Okay, in fact, Angela knew about that particular trip to go do the work.
She knew about about the trip that needed to happen. Yes.
Okay. And her brother, Robert Weidman,
Yes.
you told him you were going to Florida.
Yes.
Do some work when you initially planned it.
When I initially planned it, that was true.
Okay, and in fact, before this scheduled trip that you still took, is that right? He gave you some, a little something to keep you awake.
Yes.
Okay, some Adderall.
Yeah, it was an Adderall.
Now, the people where your car was being repaired, they knew you were planning this work trip.
Yes, because the owners are part of Angie's family.
And that would be Carrie Mertz and her husband.
Yes.
Correct. You told Mr. Lebinsky you were going down there for work.
Yes. I told most of the people in my life.
Okay.
It was what I was doing. There was no reason to hide it.
So the owner of the trailer court you live in, is his name Chris? Is that right?
Chris.
You had told him?
Yes.
You told Michael Frazier?
Yes.
But
Well-
at no time prior to June 28th did you tell them that trip's canceled? Did you understand
No,
the question?
yeah, I did understand it. I'm just trying to make sure that I answer you correctly. No, I didn't tell him that it changed.
But you did tell them,
I did stop telling him I was going to Florida, but
and then afterwards you told them you didn't go.
yes,
So now you had planned to go down this particular weekend to do some of the required on-site work for the medical practice, is that correct?
Yes, it was a mandatory update for billing codes or procedure codes that had to be in place by a certain date.
You planned this particular weekend until Mr. Sievers said, well, we're going out of town that weekend. Is that right?
Yes.
And rather than canceling that particular trip, you decided to go anyhow because Dr. Sievers would be there towards the end of the weekend. Is that right?
Well, that was the weekend that Mark told me that he wanted to have it done.
So, and Mark was kind of pulling the strings here. Is that your testimony?
I'm not sure how you worded that would be correct, but yes, he's the one that asked me.
He asked you to do it.
Told me when he needed it done, gave recommendations on how he thought it should be done.
And in fact, it was your testimony that, you know, you and he were looking up aerial photographs of the house and the business in the vicinity. Is that right?
Yes, he had me look at aerial photographs on the computer so that he could talk me through what his plan was.
So you're going along with this plan.
I'd already committed to doing it, yes.
So when he said, no, it has to be this weekend, you didn't say, that doesn't sound like a good plan. I told people I'm going to be there.
Very poor judgment, yes.
You talked about the fact that you had these burner, or I think you called them anonymous phones.
They're anonymous prepaid phones, yes.
Okay.
We call them our other phones.
Okay. But with your experience with phones and computers and whatnot, you know they're not really anonymous. Isn't that true?
They are anonymous as far as to an individual.
In fact, you and Mr. Sievers each of you had several different phones. Is that correct?
No,
You had one personal phone and then this burner phone.
yes,
Okay. You didn't ever use other phones. Is that your testimony?
Objection as to the form of that question.
Sustained.
Did you ever use a variety of different phones?
Objection to the form of the question.
Overruled.
that means I should answer, correct? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm very hard on phones. I drop them, break them. So I use temporary, like just those $30 flip phones or whatever. There's always some of those around the house. So in the event that I would break my phone while it was being repaired or replaced, I would put my SIM card in one of those phones. So it's the same phone number, the same, it's just physically it's a different phone.
Did you, had you throughout the time period when you were working for the medical practice, either sort of health medical practice, that you and Mr. Sievers had other phones to discuss or keep track of business matters?
No,
Okay. To protect client HIPAA rights?
no,
So do you recall telling the police that you did?
no, I did not. I said we discussed that as a possibility.
So, but in planning this request on behalf of Mr. Sievers, you, what was the purpose of having these burner or anonymous phones?
Mark didn't want there to be any communication regarding the crime to be done on our regular phones because they were registered to us.
Do regular phones record conversations?
Depends on who you ask.
I'm
No,
asking you, so
I mean they're monitored, yes.
monitored. In your opinion, based on your experience, do you have any knowledge of regular mobile phones recording conversations between people?
Unintentionally. I mean, there's apps. I have friends that record every conversation they have, but if you're talking about from an outside source, I mean, the NSA monitors phone, they monitor for keywords for anti-terrorism, things like that. So, not sure exactly what you were trying to get at, but
I'm asking about these burner phones that you have and why you went to these links to get them.
because that's what Mark told me, that he wanted to do it that way, which I didn't argue with. I agree that was.
So, but you are aware that phones do keep track, the mobile phone companies keep a record of text messages. Is that right?
Depends on the company, but yes,
Okay. AT&T, to your knowledge?
for 3 days, yes. The contents of the text, they don't keep very long, but the record of the text is there, just like a phone call is.
So you also testified that you had a Garmin GPS. You
Yeah.
testified about that yesterday.
Yes,
Okay. And you are aware that that does track movements of the car.
yes,
Okay. Now the Garmin GPS that you were using on your trips to Florida, you received from Mr. Lubinsky. Is that right?
yes.
You had that for about a year and a half.
I'm not sure that it was a long time.
So as you're driving, so you go to great lengths, during this trip that you're taking to Florida on June 28th. You go to great lengths to make sure you're not being tracked or followed in any way. Is that right?
Yes,
Yet you're fully aware that there's a GPS in the car and you had a phone with you, correct?
yes. The throwaway phone I had with me, the GPS,
And you were
yes.
aware that Mr. Rodgers had a phone.
Not when we left, but yes.
You were still in the state of Missouri when you figured that out, isn't that true?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay. And you're driving a car that was rented in your name.
Yes, I didn't say I was any good at this.
So, Mr. Rodgers didn't have any type of burner, prepaid, anonymous phone, did he?
No,
And somehow his phone was plugged into this GPS. Is that right? You discovered that, or
well, I mean, it's not that I discovered it. We talked about it, yes.
so you were fully aware of that?
Yes,
And you didn't say to Mr. Rodgers, "What are you thinking?"
no, I didn't, because the Garmin would be what would have all that information, and I never intended for that to be discovered.
So you arrive in Florida. You arrive in Lee County, Florida. You go directly to Bonita Springs, Florida, correct?
Yes,
And at that point, intention to be at the Jarvis Road home on Sunday night, is that correct?
Yes.
But you go there first,
Yes.
and in daylight.
Yes. Only because we got there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and
So you had this entire day to do with it what as you please. Is that
Yes.
correct? But your plan was to have to make the house look like it had been burglarized.
yeah, that was one of Mark's suggestions. Yes.
Okay. But you thought a better plan was to make it look like an accident.
I would have liked to have seen that be the way it worked out, but it wasn't. It wasn't a plan in place. No.
So you had no plan or agreement as to how this was going to work or happen.
There were multiple options. We hadn't agreed on a specific one because there was too many other variables. It was impossible to actually.
So you and Mr. Sievers hadn't agreed on anything, any specific plan.
He gave me the two things that he felt was the best ways to do it, and ultimately left it up to us once we got down here to decide which one.
Mr. Sievers, to your knowledge, never spoke to Mr. Rodgers. Is that correct?
No, he didn't.
Okay. In fact, prior to your wedding, Mr. Sievers had never met Mr. Rodgers.
Not in person, no.
Not in any way,
Well,
correct?
they knew who each other were, but
Because you're the
through
middleman.
me, yes.
So that day you arrive there, you think a better idea is to make this look like an accident. You have that in your head.
Well, that was kind of always in my head, so yes.
But you didn't want to say no to Mr. Sievers. Is that your testimony?
Well, he left it up to us. So.
Okay. So you had no plan of where this would take place, correct?
There was two plans. It would be depending on which one, once we got down here, which one we chose would be the right one. I'm sorry, I'm getting hoarse.
So a plan, sort of a general, undefined plan, would you agree to that?
Excuse me. Thank you.
You walk.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So just sort of a general, undefined plan, as it were.
I'm sorry. I don't remember how that started. You mean before we got down here or once we got here?
When you arrived.
It was still up in the air between which two. And then there was variations depending on which one it was.
But the idea of making it look like an accident, is that completely out of the picture?
No.
But when you went into the house, you purposely made it look like a break-in, is that correct?
That night, yes.
Okay. So had you gone along with this accident plan, you would have, you mentioned yesterday, a rear naked chokehold,
I believe that's what it's called technically.
you believe?
I
Do you know that?
I don't know that that's what I've heard it referred to as. I know the hold, what it's technically named. I don't know.
Well, Mr. Wright, isn't it true that you were a professional, semi-professional,
Amateur.
mixed martial arts performer, tough man?
It's a sport, yes.
It's a sport. In fact,
Amateur.
you won 2 state championships.
Yes.
So you were pretty experienced in mixed martial arts.
Yes,
in your
but
day.
the fighting style that I did was stand-up fighting. It was
So
kicking,
rear-
punching. No.
A rear naked chokehold, that's jujitsu.
Yes.
And in fact, when you do that, you render someone unconscious.
Well, generally they tap out before they become unconscious, but if you don't let go, they do.
In fact, if you don't let go, they die.
I guess eventually. It's very quick. That particular hold, 3 to 5 seconds, and you pass out if you don't stop. So, as far as how long it would take to actually kill somebody in that hold, I don't know.
But you could render someone unconscious pretty easily that way.
Yes,
In fact, that's happened to you.
yes, multiple times.
So, let's go back to that day. You said that you had this whole day to spend, so you decided to go to the beach, correct?
Yes,
And you took a nap because you're tired, correct?
yes,
And then at some point you go to Walmart. Is that right?
yes. Jimmy wanted to go to Walmart, so we went.
So you knew you had been to Walmart. Are you aware of the fact that they could possibly do surveillance, videotaping?
I've installed systems at Walmart, so I know how it works.
You've installed systems and security items
Cameras,
and
yes.
whatnot as
Yeah.
well. So you go to Walmart, and in fact, you went to Walmart to buy certain specific items, correct?
I had what I needed. I brought what I needed. I brought a towel and I brought a change of clothes and things with me because I anticipated going to we had that day that we had to waste. Part of the reason we came earlier was if there was delays, car flat tires. I'm sorry. So we built that buffer in. The fact that we actually arrived at 6 o'clock in the morning, just after daylight, was a coincidence.
You mentioned several items that were bought at Walmart.
Yes.
You didn't include trash bags. Did you in fact buy trash bags?
Yeah, if I may have forgotten to say that.
The trash bags were bought.
Yes.
And in fact, they were bought to take to the beach to put some
I'm not
sandy clothes in.
I'm not sure what the purpose for them being bought was. I didn't do it. I didn't pick them out.
Do you recall stating we put sandy clothes in so it wasn't all
Objection.
over the back of the car?
Improper.
Sustained.
Do you recall making a contrary statement to trash bags?
You've taken that out of
It's still improper.
it's out of context.
You can answer, sir. Go ahead.
I said that as a general rule, when I go to the beach,
Do you recall giving a deposition back in March 21st of 2019?
yes,
And at that time, there was a court reporter present taking down what was testified to.
yes,
You were sworn in to tell the truth.
yes,
Mr. Hunter and Ms. Ross were present. Do you recall that?
yes,
And Mr. Darrow, Mr. McFarland, and myself were all present.
yes,
And your attorney, Ms. Parker, was present as well.
yes.
Okay. And do you recall making a statement with regard to the trash bags?
If I could see it to refresh my memory, I would appreciate
Can I
it.
approach the witness?
Yes, ma'am.
And we refer to his deposition, page 149. Line 8.
Yes.
Do you now recall making a statement with regard to what those trash bags are?
Yes, I do.
You were asked the question, okay, and what did you use the trash bag for at the beach?
Yes.
And your response, we put sandy clothes in so it wasn't all over the back of the car.
Yes. I
That
forgot.
was in March of this year?
Yes.
You went to Walmart that day. You got something to eat. Is that correct?
Yes.
Would you agree you kind of took your time wandering around Walmart, looking at various departments?
Yes.
And then you went back to the beach.
Yes.
At some point during that day, you had gone from Bonita Beach all the way up to the pier at Fort Myers Beach. Is that correct?
Yes.
And were you with Mr. Rodgers when he bought some souvenirs for his girlfriend?
Yeah, we were walking together.
In fact, he bought a sweatshirt for his girlfriend that said Fort Myers Beach.
I don't recall what he bought. I just know that he bought some things.
So, I just have a moment.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you arrived the evening of Sunday, June 28th, at the Jarvis Road home of Mr. and Mrs. Sievers, it was your intention to plan to make it look like a burglary gone bad, that someone had walked in.
That's what
testimony?
Mark said he wanted it to be.
But you didn't do that, did you?
Well, we started to.
Did you go, you in fact never went through Dr. Sievers' wallet or purse, correct?
No.
You never even went through the house, is that correct?
The house was walked through and poked around in, but
In the morning?
both.
Okay. And you didn't take anything like jewelry from her body or from the house?
No. I didn't. I should clarify that.
Killed Dr. Sievers, correct?
Yes.
That they were having marital problems, is that right?
That's what Mark said. Yes.
In fact, he told you he thinks she's having an affair,
He didn't say he thought she was. He said she was.
that she was having an affair. Do you ever have any substantial feeling that she was having an affair?
I wasn't part of the situation, so I don't have an opinion either way.
Isn't it true? And where each of them had several affairs.
Well, and I don't really personally understand this when you're married, but from
I'm
what
going to ask you if you don't understand it to not talk about it.
no, let me finish, please.
No, that wasn't the question. I asked you if you were aware. You said yes.
I said I don't personally
Ask the
understand.
witness be instructed.
Sir, you'll just have to answer the questions that counsel ask, and counsel from the state will have an opportunity to ask you further questions if they feel it's
I
necessary.
was trying to. Sorry.
Yes, sir. Next question.
So, Mr. Sievers also said that Dr. Sievers would be leaving him. Is that right?
Yes, that's what he told me.
And that he was afraid that you would, Dr. Sievers would take the girls.
He said she was.
She was taking the girls.
Yeah, that she was leaving him. She was taking the kids out of state.
But again, you had no other ability to know this other than what he was telling you.
It was
Is
all
that right?
it was all based on what he told me.
So, but your concern was the safety of the girls. Was that your testimony yesterday?
Yes, that was a concern.
So you thought the better course of action was to kill their mother, then report it to the police or the Department of Children and Families. Is that correct?
I didn't determine what the course of action would be.
But you hit her with a hammer.
I agreed to help my friend who was asking me.
You can ask your question again. I think he attempted to answer it. Go ahead.
So your concern was the safety of the children. Is that correct?
That was a concern, yes.
Was that the primary concern to you?
My concern had nothing to do with agreeing to do this.
Okay. In fact, you had been through that in your personal experience.
Objection.
Isn't that true?
Beyond the scope of direct.
Sustained.
May we approach?
Sure.
Case among yourselves with anybody else, or look up any of the people or places involved, and we'll be with you shortly. Anybody else need a restroom break before we do the proffer?
Either before or after would be nice.
Why don't we take 5-10 minutes and then we'll do the proffer.